about to take my daily walk and just had a question. I'm going to get into it later on in this. Just asking, why is it when something bad happens, someone is discovered to have done something, you have a bunch of people who feel the need to come out and say, oh, I knew about this for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years and sometimes. And then now they come out once it's actually been exposed, once this person is actually out there, when this terrible thing that's happened is out. They feel the need, they feel it's actually the appropriate thing to come out and talk about how they knew about this. Because my general question is this, if they knew about it, why didn't they say something about it earlier? Now, I might keep this mask life thing going for some time. With the recording this, I said, oh, let me just try and see how it's meant to be recording with a mask on, because there's some parts of it, some benefits to doing it that way. When I'm using the Bluetooth headphones, there's only a slight delay. And if I wanted to go back in post-production, I could edit the actual video and get to the point where it's like a few seconds, like a slow few seconds type of thing, or some milliseconds or something. I have to like adjust it back to have the audio match my actual voice. If I'm watching a YouTube video with the Bluetooth headphones, you might notice this. You might not have noticed this before. Subconsciously, you might not have, but consciously, now that I mention it, you probably are going to notice that there's just a little of a slowdown. It's a little off. So, when I have the mask on, when I have that way, it also prevents the wind if I'm outside and recording. So there's some double things with that in the mic. So there's some benefits to actually wearing masks outside of this whole current pandemic that we're in. But one of the things with the masks, it was mentioning how people wear these masks in order to get to a situation where you're protecting other people from yourself. But I think most of the masks we wear are to protect ourselves from other people. And I think some of the masks that people have with these telling of lies and things like this, when something like that comes out, is I think people want to be correct. People want to be able to be known as somebody who can actually tell danger. It's a positive thing. It's how humans have worked. We've worked in this whole life where we needed to actually know where the danger was, pick up when we're supposed to run, who we're supposed to avoid. And I think some of these people decide that, hey, now that it's been found out, and I've someone that was known to actually be somewhat associated with this person or aware of this person, it's better for me to come out and admit that I had my own personal reasons not to say anything, but I was at least able to see something, rather than coming down as the kind of people who couldn't even see that this person had an issue. You know, because in that sense, someone might think like, okay, maybe at least if I got close enough to this person, they would tell me. But there is something that goes further with that. When it comes down to just particularly the people who've been victimized, in that situation, I understand. Part of why crimes are crimes, part of why victimizing people is so bad, is because of the mental effect that it has on the people. So I don't expect a victim to just come out and say things and just be like, yes, this person treated me in this way, this person abused me in this way. That one I understand, the damage that happens there. But the people who are still around the abuser, who knew, and they don't say anything, I consider these people to be questionable people. I wouldn't want that kind of person around my life. And I think you can ask yourself, and most of us have certain things that we know about people that we know in our lives that we don't feel like telling other people that we know in our lives. And I think that's an uncomfortable place to be. And I'm trying to reduce that to as little as possible, where if someone's a friend, I want to be able to tell them as much about my life and the things that I know, especially the bad things, especially the dangers, especially the risks. The good things are the good things. No one's really going to be mad about being surprised by a good thing. Oh, how come you didn't tell me this person was that awesome? Nobody's really going to come at you for that. But if you're like, how come you didn't tell me this person was a horrible human being that just harmed me and the people I care for? That's a bigger issue to actually worry about. So, just to finish off, hopefully there's not too much noise. Right now, by the overpass, sometimes a lot of noise. Might need to cover this up. But what I want to say, just to finish it off, is I understand there's many considerations why people might want to wear masks. Not just during a pandemic, but just doing everyday lives, the other kind of mask that we wear. And for me, I think the least that I can do in this kind of, we're social animals, you have to socialize with people, deal with other people, in groups, out groups, and things like that. There's practical things, considerations. But I think I'll make a distinction between the people who found out about something, and that's probably going to be pretty loud. They found out about something and then decided to distance themselves from that person, from the individual, from the organization. At least that's something. That's something versus the people who apparently knew but just ignored. And I think in particular, I think with this one thing that made me think about this was a personal issue that I'm dealing with, and also the recent issue with Karl Rove coming out with somebody in the Lincoln Project. One of the people, Lincoln Project is this group of Republicans in the United States of America that were against Trump, and then one of the founders supposedly was involved with soliciting young men and boys up to as young as 14 years old. And Karl Rove, who's a Republican, he's a well-known Republican. I think he was a lawyer involved in the Bill Clinton impeachment trial. If I'm not mistaken, that might have been one of the times he really got big. But he's been in the political sphere for a while, and he came out and he said, I kind of knew about this guy. There's been rumblings, and people talk about all these things that are being said. And when it comes to the field of politics, I understand these people, that field selects for people that are kind of grimy people. You don't get to stay in that field for that long. It's one of those few fields where I'm like, somebody tells you they have a lot of experience being a politician, like, that's a negative thing to me. Like, to me, I want the new people, I want the people who don't know about what's actually going on, because the skeletons you have to keep in people's closets and know about in order to maintain those positions of power. It's a cutthroat kind of environment. So I'm not surprised that some of these things go on in those environments, because they go on in every environment. Then when you add the power and the influence that politics has and the access, that adds to that. So if somebody has that kind of mentality, they do that a lot more there. So you have Karl Rove do that. And I don't know if Karl Rove divorced himself from dealing with people like the Lincoln Project, from this particular individual who was caught with these things. But the people, and there might be something to check that. I might have to check and see. The people who do come out and say they knew something, are they mostly the people who actually had moved away from that person, moved away from that organization? Or are they people who are still within the organization with that person? Because we look at the people who are actually with this guy, and they're saying that they didn't know. And I'm like, if you didn't know, why were you working with this person? Or why should I trust your judgment about other things in life? But yeah, that's just my general question that I have for you. What are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts on the actual situation of why do people feel the need to come out and say that they knew about something bad happening, a bad person doing something, an organization committing some kind of crimes, some harm happening? Why do they come out after it's been exposed that they knew, yet they didn't say something before? What are the reasons you think people do that? What are the reasons you might not be saying something? What are the reasons you actually came out or decided, okay, I have to say something? Let me know about that in the comment section wherever you listen to this, or hit me up an email, contact me at carbon33.com. I think that's what I'll use for this for now. I might change my email eventually for these different kind of questions. But yeah, until next time, goodbye.